Hello everybody, my name is Alan Lloyd. The return home to the fortune, there is a figure in the sun. But if the sun bursts to tears to heaven based upon a machine, it will orate itself into the third performance. The network of one is the oil weight in a machine to transcode the system of the formula for the position of the army. In that way, it is a co-function. The co-function of my brother time is a dimension of the element. Each element will send the sun through. The sun will burst to tears to heaven based upon the machine. If the machine is the overlay of the third performance, the skincare wave will wave itself into the third performance. The third performance is a network of 1 on time, 12 on time, and 10 on time with a border. The third moon will switch off to the mode of the Anuna. In that way, it is a co-finder. The co-finder will execute itself into law to heaven based upon the machine. If the machine is Bell 1 F215 by the border, the third moon will switch off to the mode of the Anuna. In that day it is 10324. The 10324 is of the vagina in relation to the chapters. Ah, I did not delete the vagina because in the planet Mars it is the virgin oil to transcode the formula by the message of God. Each god in relation to the virgin oil, it is the sun that will burst into the Kachkana. Particularly, the vagina is the function of the sperm wave to form into one, and in that day it is 10324. The design day is the design day is the design day in relation to the hellholder for the democracy of law. For my brother Tan, it is the instrument of law based upon the element of law by the border. The third moon for JB Hi-Fi will send the sun through. Each sun will burst to tears to heaven based upon the machine. In East Land of Tasmania, the co-function of the pyramid will recycle the bin into the Hydra. But if the Hydra is Bell 1 F215 by the border, the third moon will switch off to the mode of the Amana. In that way it is the element. Each element will send the sun through, and in that time it will born into three. So, collecting the material will transcode the system into each formula, because in that way, when you collect your fee, you will export into a certain degree by the bank. Each bank will transfund itself into the third program to isolate the law of the last message, and in that way, it is the goal machine. No, goal, GOAL. Each goal is a transfund of the program to have the interest rate of no, not working as yet, bank, in relation to my collection code by the ANZ peak. But in that time, when you do that, you will compromise the issue of the matter you send the sun through. The sun may burst to tears to heaven based upon the machine. If the machine is Bell 1 F215 by the border, the third moon will switch off to the mode of the Ananda. In that way, each god will transfund the program by the creator. The creator will transmit itself into the live bird. The live bird, LIVE, is the inclusion of Dr. T. Sandra, and in that way Dr. T. Sandra, the transplant program for Carlos Zeno, is the last message of the collection. In that time, when you go to the museum, you will encode the formula as a scientist to export into a certain degree. In that way, you will also perform itself into Network 1 to program Sir Funk. In that time, Sir Funk, the equilibrium to share the network of one is the oil wave in the machine to include the formula. Each formula will send the sun through. It will burst to tears to heaven based upon the machine. The machine will be Bell 1 F215. In that day it is the Atana. The Atana for Twitter in relation to the hellholder is a conversion of the exponent creed into impacting creed by the creator. Each creator for the temple in spring whale is a message of the compound to position itself into the third line, and in that way it is attached command. So perhaps perhaps in a matter of time when you do the conversion, first word is an equation of PED5. For NASA, it is the third line. The third line for Dr. T. Sandra is evolution of time to send the sun through for scientists. Each scientist will formulate into one for the moon. The moon will burst to tears to heaven based upon the machine. If the machine is Bell 1 F215 by the border, the third moon will switch off to the mode of the Anana. In that way, in Alice Spring, it will have the red rock to confusion itself into daytime by that Buddha for the kids. In a matter of time, when you do that, you will equalize the measurement of time for the sun to burst out into the draft of 324. Each draft of 324 is a conversion for Calazino for the thinking pattern to diameter the third thinking pattern. Each thinking pattern is an equation, yes, an equivalent formula, yes, into 1C. Each 1C is a division for my brother Tan to have the JB Hi-Fi to Evelyn into Harvey Norman. In that time, when you have the bank fee, you will formulate into 135 to form itself into 324, and in that way it is the Anana. In the third technology of the position, it will send the sun through. The sun will burst to tears to heaven based upon the machine. The machine is Bell 1 F215. In that day it is 10324. For state trustee, the measurement of time is a conversion to export into a certain degree by Bowen to have the timber wood and to align itself into Mercury. No, really took a picture of that. That's Mercury. But in a matter of time, when you do that, you will measure the time of the machine to export into one. So for Dr. T. Sandra, the last message of the compound will position itself into the acceptance. Once upon a time, there is no one in to look for the code. It is the BE1824. For the third encryption of Bill Gates, the inclusion is 3CFC3CFC. In that way, it is the co-finder. In each one of you or each one of work, it is the measurement of time for the sun. The sun will burst to tears to heaven based upon the machine. If the machine is bound to F315 by the border, for each state it is the Tashkemam. In Alex Spring, it is conversion to export into a certain degree. In that time, you will export into one. So in each state, you will formulate into 345 by the parliament and to invade itself into one. So when, when the material has ABF315 by the border, the third moon will switch off to the mode of the Ananda. In that day it is 10324. For Morris Blackburn, it is the democracy of law based upon implementation of a network to fire out into one for the TAC. Each TAC is a division to complex itself into network 1, to form into 2, to form into 2, and 1 in for the corporate. The corporate will operate into the division for the C5 and the CEO. In that day it is 10324. The 10324 by Formula 1 is a division to complex itself into network 5. Even that way it is a hard copy. The hard copy of the blueprint will diameter itself into the toy world. And in that time it is the fifth division. The fifth division will complex itself into network 1 to formulate into 1 by formula 324. And in that day it is 10328. So perhaps in a matter of time when you do that, You will equalize the mathematician to transform itself into 324. The fifth division to complex itself into network 1 is the only way for the machine. The machine is BEF315. The BEF315 is a Formula 1 to diameter itself into the transcode system, and in that time it is the touch command. The touch command of the law will transmit itself into Dr. T. Sandra, and to equalize the scientist. Each scientist will formulate into 324. The 324 by Professor Jenny Spongford will array itself into third moon. Yes, I am really happy now in relation to living in South Australia for the rest of my life until I'm dead. Yes, never change things, Alan. But in a matter of time, when you do that, you also have the mathematician. The mathematician for the creator in Springvale is a measurement of time for the sun. The sun will burst to tears to heaven based upon the machine, and in that day it is 10.24, the fifth moon. It will burst. Yes, Dr. T. Sandra, the scientist. It will burst. It will burst.